So you see this here? This looks like a kid's ride shotgun seat, but those are pretty expensive, albeit a great product. This was the first halfway decent looking, cheap knockoff version I could find on Amazon. So 1 year ago, I took the plunge to see if it would stand up to the abuse of me and my son using it. And I'm here 1 year later to give you the long-term review of whether or not it lived up to the albeit much lower price tag, but was that money well spent or was that money thrown in the trash? Let's find out. But real quick, what's up? Welcome to the backyard. I'm Jeff, and this channel is Fun Size Adventures, where I try to help families like you get out on little adventures in your own backyard while keeping it on a budget. So about a year ago, after having been testing this for about a month, I made a full review setup video. Check that linked at the end of this video if you haven't seen it and you want to know more about that. But today I'm going to be specifically talking about what has stood the test of time and what hasn't when it comes to this shotgun seat clone. Now first, let me show you what all came in the package. Shotgun seat itself with the pegs, the handlebars, and you also had this weird little harness backpack thing. I could tell you right out of the gate, this, unnecessary. I've literally never used this. I don't know what purpose it could serve. Maybe if your child was much smaller. My son, even when I got this, was just about 4. Now he's just about 5, and he's not going to need to be harnessed to me. But if you had a little baby, like a 1, 2-year-old, that might be useful, but I've literally never used that. Number 2, the handlebars. The handlebars work fine. You can see I have some tape on there. It's because the fit on my handlebars, there's a little plastic spacer that will fall out if I don't keep it taped in there when I'm not using it. Last year, I used these every time I used it, and he enjoyed having these on there. But so far this year, I have not put these on at all, because it seems like he is fine just grabbing onto my handlebars a little bit closer in than my hands, where my hand grips are. It just saves me a lot of time, because if you're somebody like me who rides their bike with themselves and doesn't want this whole system on there, and then occasionally wants to put it on to take their kid for a bike ride, this just adds another few minutes of the setup and tear down process that if you majority of the time rode with your kid on there, or maybe even it might be useful if your kid was on the younger side. Like I said, my kid isn't, then this might be good to just have on there. But where it's not something that I want to take on and off every time, and it's not 100% necessary. He does well just with this on. And with this, I can put this on in about 1.5 minutes, take it back off in about the same amount of time. It's not super difficult to just take on, put off, without even using any tools. I can undo the quick release and also these bolts down here by hand, put it over the bike frame, tighten these back down by hand, and then do the quick release last, and it's tight, it's not going anywhere. And then if I reverse those steps, do it opposite, get it off, don't need any tools. It's just super quick and easy if I want to throw my son on a bike ride with me. And especially if we're going on a longer bike ride. If we're going on a shorter bike ride, he's riding his balance bike. He's just starting to learn how to pedal a normal bike. But for those longer bike rides, he still needs to ride with me. This is just super quick and easy to throw on. Which brings me to the drawbacks. The one thing that did break on these was, where did I have it here? These rubber straps. They attach in there, you put your kid's foot on, and then you can pop this on the outside, like so. Hold their foot on. Now my son, where he is on the bigger end of the spectrum of people that are going to ride the seat, likes to, for whatever reason, wedge his toe in there and then point his toe down like this and then stand up with all of his weight on there. And he actually broke one of these straps. Now, like I said, I think that's partially his fault, but at the end of the day, it is something that did break, and I just wanted to give you a heads up that that is something that could happen. But that said, even without those straps on there, he still puts his feet on the pegs like a normal human being now, without those straps to make him do whatever tippy-toe ballerina thing he was doing before. And they're there most of the time. Occasionally, he gets bored, he takes his foot off, and he tries to rub it on my tire and drive me insane. But he's a 4-year-old, and he feels as though that's his life's mission. But he's cute, so we love him anyway. So, at the end of the day, I spent $45 on all this stuff. Yes, some of it I haven't used at all. Some of it I've used occasionally and it's worked. Some of it I've used a lot. And for 45 bucks, I think it was money well spent. Like I said, I've had 4 boys and I didn't find this seat until the last child. So I knew I needed this for a very limited amount of time. And for $45, it stood the test of time. If you are just starting to have kids in this range and you plan on having multiple children, then you probably, if at all possible, want to spend the extra money on the Kids Ride Shotgun version, because that is going to be a much more high quality product. But I know when you first started having kids how tight things are. So if money is an issue then and you can't afford to spend $100 plus on the Kids Ride Shotgun, this is something that can get you by. But if there's one thing I've learned from having kids, it's number one, they cost a lot of money. Number two, that money never fails to show up. So if you're somebody who's for some reason watching this video and has not had kids because you're waiting till you have enough money, don't worry about that. The money shows up. That's not a good excuse to not have a kid. Just believe me, the Lord will provide. So at the end of the day, if you're a parent whose budget is tight, this Kids Ride in Front seat by Fuairmee, I think the brand is called. It's one of these Chinese company that just kind of like made up a word kind of names. It will get you by for a budget option. To have your kids go on a bike ride with you, have fun riding around in the woods. If you want to know more about this, I did that dedicated review and setup video. I'll link that right here. Until next time, get out there with your kids, and if you don't have kids, go have kids and have a fun-sized adventure of your own. Fun-sized adventure takes on a different connotation when I just told you to have kids, doesn't it? Oh dear.